take a look at the person sitting next to you. Do they seem off? Are they showing a little too much emotion? Or maybe not enough?
Maybe they're just tired, Sebastian. Or maybe, just maybe, they've been replaced by a giant space pod while they were sleeping.
Or worse, maybe they're a skeletal face alien elite telling you to obey while you eat your cereal.
Today on CinemaJam Versus, we're entering the golden age of paranoia. We're putting on the sunglasses, just as us just did a moment ago, and pointing the finger at two of the greatest alien infiltration masterpieces ever made.
In one corner, we have John Carpenter, 1988's blue-collar riot of a movie. The movie that taught us that life is a bitch and then you run out of bubblegum. The movie, They Live.
And in the other corner, we have Philip Kaufman's 1978 Urban Nightmare, the film that turned San Francisco into a biological trap and gave us the most haunting ending in cinema history, Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
It's cowboys versus the health inspector, the sunglasses versus the pot.
Okay, Johnny, this one's got your number on it. Let's jam.
Hi, and welcome everyone again to another episode of Cinema Jam Podcast, a podcast where two friends just get together to talk about movies, analyze them, and share our thoughts and ideas with you, our viewers and listeners. I want to remind everyone that you can find us, our Cinema Jam podcast, on all of the main streaming platforms. So we are available on Spotify, YouTube. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and any other platform of your choice. Just, reach out to us, like us, follow us, subscribe, share with us your comments, your feedback. We're always open and looking forward for your comments to improve our content. As usual, I'm Pablo Velez from Montreal, Canada, and my good friends Sebastian Gomez from Austin, Texas. Hi, Sebas.
Hi, Paolo. I'm doing great. We're excited for the spring finally arriving here and enjoying the beautiful weather and the beautiful flowers.
Lucky you. We haven't had that break yet.
Pretty soon, I hope.
So, anyways, today is middle of the week. This is our Wednesday episode in our podcast that we call CinemaJam Versus. CinemaJam Versus is a format that we have where we select two movies that are about the same topic, the same genre, the same overall theme. And what we do is we put those two movies through 6 rounds of battles, like a competition, to know what movie comes out first. And we decide, that's the movie that we want to keep for posterity, and then the other one will just disappear in the garbage bin of cinema history. So today I'm really excited because we'll be...
I think the perfect metaphor this week because very heavy influence of the trash, the garbage trucks that they pick up.
Fair enough. Yes, that's a common theme in the two movies that we'll be discussing today. So I'm actually curious, Sebas, why you chose the two movies that we're going to be discussing today. You want to give us like a little background on the two movies and the reasons why you chose them for this Versus episode?
So basically, a few months ago, maybe 2 or 3 months ago, I saw They Live. I haven't seen it in a long time. They Live is the John Carpenter masterpiece. Interestingly enough, is very topical of what is happening in the world today, because today's government in the United States is using a lot of tactics and similar themes that happened at the beginning of the 80s with the Reagan era. And John Carpenter basically did this movie to like a metaphor against the Reagan era politics and economics, and all the things that happened during the Reagan years. So this is his answer to that. And I I was thinking, okay, I really want to talk about this movie in the podcast. I was thinking maybe we can put it in 1 month, do like an invasion genre, but I don't remember where I was what I was reading. An Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 1978 movie by Philip Kaufman, a very famous writer. I mean, he wrote basically the first Indiana Jones movie and other things. I mean, he's a very prolific writer and a director. I mean, he only directed 14 movies, but this is like probably the biggest hit that he directed, and this is such a good metaphor for the Cold War era. They were afraid of the spies, the people that the communists were bringing in to basically live between everyone. So this is like a perfect metaphor of the time. And I don't know, I thought that they will be like a perfect pairing for the podcast,
I
and
think
even maybe sometime maybe dedicate a full episode, a full Friday episode to the topic as well.
No, Sales, I think it's a great choice for the versus format. I'm really excited to go over both movies. I had seen Invasion of the Body Snatchers like many years ago. I hadn't seen it again in a long time, and this is the
Me
first time
too.
that is the same is the first time that I watch They Live. It was in my list. It was in my to-do list because John Carpenter is one of my favorite directors. So I don't know why it took me so long. So thank you for nominating these two movies. How
It's
about
almost a forgotten gem of John Carpenter. I mean, it came right after we were talking about that off microphone. It came right out after
Big Trouble in
Big Trouble in Little China, a movie that we saw in friend's house a couple of times. I mean, we did that a lot, and Kurt Russell was like his go-to guy, basically, like basically Leonardo DiCaprio today with Martin Scorsese, right? And because this one wasn't with Kurt Russell, was almost forgotten by time. So it's an interesting movie to revisit, and we're probably going to talk about that. The cast in the Invasion of the Body Snatchers is incredible.
Hold on. Hold on, so let's do this properly. Let's move on into our versus format. So just to remind our viewers, we're going to go through 6 rounds where we're going to put these two movies. They Live from John Carpenter from 1988 and Invasion of the Body Snatchers from Philip Kaufman from 1978. We're going to go put them through these 6 rounds of battles, and we're going to start with
Round 1.
Round 1 it is. So this first one, Sales, is all about the story and script. And I think the common theme in both movies is the subject of paranoia against authority, the authority establishment. So in Invasion of the Body Snatchers, paranoia, as you were saying before, is all about the Cold War, is a metaphor for the Cold War, where the aliens are standing for sleeper cells from Russian or Chinese spies, primarily Soviet spies back then.
Yeah,
And
you cannot trust your neighbor, basically, right?
exactly. And then They Live is also a metaphor, but as you were saying before, more about that embracing of Reagan economics in the 80s and that spike in consumism and capitalism, especially that the United States in particular experienced back in that decade. So from your perspective, and in terms of that concept of paranoia, like, which one do you think approached that topic better?
It's really hard because you can tell that Philip Kaufman is a very good writer, right? I mean, and John Carpenter is also a good writer, and he's using a pseudonym in this case, in the movie when it was released. But I find that They Live, that story, how it's revealed, the way we introduced to these guys, blue collar guy, he's a worker, traveled with his tools, and he's finding out about these aliens out of nowhere. And
You were talking about Roddy Piper, right?
Roddy Piper, yes, yeah, and then we'll talk about the characters better later.
Yeah.
But right now, I like the way he's introduced, right? Because in the other one is, oh, this is another health inspector like last week that is fighting the system and, calling the mayor, and the mayor doesn't answer to him, and he's trying to get everyone. I don't know. I found it. I mean, when it starts moving really fast, basically after the garden scene that we can discuss later. But before that, it takes a little while. I mean, we know something is happening because we have more information than the main characters. But basically, I like that we are discovering this world with Roddy Piper. We're with him. We're part of his. I mean, we don't know more than him, so I like that. He's basically in every scene of the movie, and I love it. So that in this case, I will give it to They Live. The way the story develops, I really like it. But I also admire a lot of Philip Kaufman's storytelling in Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah, I mean, the question was around the concept of paranoia, and I guess it's a bit closer, to people when they think about the Cold War, because of all you were saying. You don't trust your neighbor. The characters in the movie, they live. They're all, like kind of like underdogs, like people that don't have homes, that are, like you were saying, like blue collar workers that like struggle in that economic context. But there are not that many concepts about, not trusting your friend or your family. There are no concepts of families. There are couples in Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Like you got the couple of the main, the leading actress, Brooke Adams, whose boyfriend becomes a bot, like an alien, is one of the first people that get taken. Veronica Cartwright from Alien fame, whose boyfriend, the great Jeff Goldblum, is also taking over. So there's a bit more.
And Donald Sutherland has his friend, Leonard Nimoy, that is Dr. David Kibner, and he trusts him completely, and he's one of the first ones, basically.
Exactly. So I mean, Leonard Nimoy, such a great actor. Spock. So I mean, I don't know. There's more of that, I guess, in Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
The paranoia, yeah.
But the whole context of the world that they are living in is really interesting. In They Live. My problem, Sebas, is that in that movie, like there's like a very nice introduction into the world, and like when he puts on the sunglasses for the first time, but then at some point it just becomes like an action movie,
like a silly action movie.
Exactly, like a kind of like a mix between Escape from New York and Big Trouble in Little China, where you have like this clumsy lead character as Kurt Russell in Big Trouble in Little China, with fighting the system as they did in Escape from New York.
I mean, the elements of paranoia are there, but they're not as obvious or as developed as in Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and I agree with you, because there is the character of Meg Foster, Holly, that betrays Nada, that Johnny Nada, that is Roddy Piper, and the other one, I think, maybe it's John Lawrence, that he betrays them, and he basically sells out the camp and sells out the information of what this revolutionary group is doing in there. So the paranoia is there because the revolutionary, we didn't talk about that. There is basically a revolutionary group that is trying to tell people to wake up, to don't let themselves be fooled by these aliens that are trying to. So it's in there. It's just that, yeah, it's more. I mean, if we go just by paranoia, I think I agree. Invasion of the Body Snatchers maybe is better. So which one you will go for? For Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
I mean, based on the question, which was around the topic of paranoia, when the
and
movie
paranoia.
like elaborated on that topic better, I would give it to the invasion of the body snatchers. But in all fairness, since this is the story and like the concept from They Live is also pretty cool. Maybe we can.
Let's get to invasion of the body snatcher. I
Okay,
mean,
okay.
yeah.
I was gonna offer like a split in the point, but I mean, I'm happy.
No. Only in extreme situations I will let it. But I think you're right. The key point is paranoia. Let's go. Let's give it to invasion of the body snatchers.
So let's
So
move
let's
on
go to
Round 2.
So round 2, Sebas, is about characters and acting. So in both movies, we have the leading man or the hero. They Live is Roddy Piper's Nada character, so this blue collar kind of action hero. And then on the other side, we have Donald Sutherland's Matthew Bennell, who's more of a kind of like an intellectual health inspector. So if you were facing a real invasion, or whether it's by pod people, as it happened in the invasion of the body snatchers, or these weird aliens masking themselves, in this alternative reality in They Live, who would you rather, be with?
I
What
guess I will go with Nada. It's a man and a man of action, right?
is no point of discussion there. I mean, he's a strong guy. He's a former wrestler. He knows his way around with weapons. He fights people like the aliens. Donald Sutherland, the thing that he does the most is running away from people.
Yeah, he becomes a little bit of man of action, but a little bit too late. He wasn't even able to save the woman he loves. So like, oh man, come on. That's a big no for me.
And actually, I mean, we're gonna be kind of like doing a quick, spoiler here, but the movie Invasion of the Body Snatchers has a very downbeat ending because Donald Sutherland is taken over by the alien. So the hero actually kind of like fails at the end. That's the famous scene exactly that you will see on the background image. While the character of Roddy Piper's in They Live, he also dies. Like he kind of
His
like
shot, yeah.
yeah, exactly. But he's able to bring down the system, so he was more successful.
At
So
least show, right? We don't know if it's gonna bring it down, but at least he
people
chose the
realize,
world that
people realize that the people that were talking to were aliens, like this ugly, decaying, like corpses. So let's give the point to They Live.
Yeah, and I do want to mention that the supporting cast is pretty interesting because basically the kid David Frank he does a great job. He's basically the friend, and he doesn't want to be part of this movement. But seeing a very young Jeff Goldblum, like you mentioned, Brooke Adams is great as well. Veronica Cartwright and Leonard Nimoy are great supporting cast. Those guys actually are more interesting in a lot of cases, a lot of the time than Donald Sutherland or as Matthew Bennell in the movie.
Yeah, but we were talking about the lead character.
No, picking the main character, Roddy Piper or that.
Point given to They Live, and with that, I think we're ready to move on to round
3.
Okay, Sebas. So round 3 is about the touch from the director. So, the overall visuals, look and feel, and the direction, either from Philip Kaufman on Invasion of the Body Snatchers or John Carpenter's They Live. So I want to ask, actually, the overall look of the movie. I think that's the approach I want to take. How do you compare And how would you say, like, what movie you think was more effective in terms of how they use the overall look and feel of what they did? Do you think that Philip Kaufman's use of those weird lights and the like overall playing around with colors and black and white in They Live, how does that compare to the San Francisco location in the late 70s, where you get all this like more like an urban and suburban vibe to it? How would you compare them? Like what director did it best?
I'm tempted to say John Carpenter. He's showing us a lot of LA like things, the streets that we saw in Heat. Basically, you're seeing a little bit of that. You're seeing the homeless camps, you're seeing the banks, you're seeing the streets. It's an interesting contrast when they put the glasses for the first time and they start to see everything black and white. It's an interesting thing. I
So
mean,
there
yeah,
was one thing I wanted just to say, that it took me a while to realize that it was in LA. I don't know. I didn't see that at the beginning of the movie, that it was, that the character, Roddy Piper, actually arrived at Los Angeles. It was only like later when they were like in the suburbs, like you could see like the hills with those, famous like Hollywood houses they use in the movies. It took me a while. Well, San Francisco is San Francisco. Like it's like very easily
you can
like
tell. Yeah, you can tell for the first look that is San Francisco
shot.
when
Exactly.
yeah, when it lands on the basically on the park. The park is close to the Bank of America Tower and all that. Yeah, you really tell really fast that is San Francisco. Um, it's interesting because the shots in Los Angeles from John Carpenter are very illuminated. We will use it's kind of like a different look that we use with him, because normally you could tell that you know Big Trouble in Little China, The Thing are basically in sound stages, right? But this one you can tell there is a lot of location shooting, so it's kind of different. In the San Francisco one, the invasion of the Body Snatchers, there is that as well. That it looks that it's shot in San Francisco, so it's kind of like a different feel. But there is also a lot of shots in the dark, at night, and in the house where Elizabeth lives, for example. There is a lot of dark and shadows. So this one is kind of difficult. I'm tempted to go with John Carpenter, but this one might be one that we should split it.
You know what? Let's try and make this, versus more interesting. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna try to avoid splitting the point if we have another, approach take on the question. So going back to the concept of visuals and direction, why don't we talk about the counterpart to the heroes? So the bad guys, the creatures, and
The creature.
specifically the creature design. So both movies have very unique creatures in it. In They Live is, I mean, we can call them the skull faces, like this corpse-like people that you can only see when you put on the sunglasses. And Body Snatchers, you got the pods, like kind of like this plants, and then that create the copies. And there's like that really cool scene where you see a dog, sorry, a dog with a human face. So let's just stay there. So who did this best? John Carpenter with his overall approach to the skull faces, or Philip Kaufman with that, combination of pot people and then this dog human, scene?
Well, I mean the not really the pod people, but just the visual of the pod and the people coming out of the pods. I think it was super effective. I don't deny that the alien look, the face is pretty amazing. I love it when Roddy Piper says, you look like your face fell in the cheese dip back in 1957 when he finds like an alien old woman. But I have to say the visuals of the pod people are just amazing. The dog is the creepy as hell and is probably one of the best memorable moments of the movie.
It's perfect.
But the pod
Great.
people is just amazing. Yeah, the way
Come on,
they
the dog
come
scenes.
out.
The dog scene's one that you were not expecting.
No, yeah,
It
I
feels like
totally
horror.
forgot about it.
Like it feels like a real like horror moment in that movie. I want to give this point to Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Okay, let's give it to Invasion. Yeah,
Nice, perfect. So now we can move on to the next round.
they both deserve it, but yeah, it's difficult.
Round 4.
Okay, so round 4 is about the soundtrack and the vibe of the movie. So, I mean, if we talk about the score, the you know where I'm going, like
John Carpenter, yeah, I'm not going to deny it. That's blues music. The way it plays in some parts is great. I loved John Carpenter's soundtrack always. So it's hard to compare to the other one. The other one is great. I mean, Danny
exactly.
Seitlins is a very avant-garde one.
Exactly. There are like two different
Yesterday,
approaches.
I started watching They Live, and I just decided, like, I want to watch it with the headphones, and I put the headphones, and when the blues start playing, it's hard. It's hard. But in this one,
But I mean, this is what I was thinking, Sebas. So I kept on going back to John Carpenter's previous movies. Big Trouble in Little China is a classic. Is a movie that you and I and our friends like really like love. Like we grew up with that movie, and the score in that movie, the music from the movie is like something that will be forever, with me.
it was more experimental. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I
It had
felt
that combination of
yeah,
Asian instruments and all that.
exactly. Like there's a lot of like melodies and riffs that you can tell that is about that movie. I felt in this one it was more like a kind of like a Western type of theme that he had going on with that like riff that he was playing over and over again in the movie. It was good. I mean, I like the way John Carpenter does music. He plays actually. He does the score himself with some people that he collaborates with. But I don't know. I feel that when it comes to the movie as such, what Danny Sutherland did in Invasion of the Body Snatchers was less intrusive, and it actually highlighted more the story of the movie. I felt that it fit better the overall mood. That's what I felt. I felt like John Carpenter's score was a bit intrusive, whereas in Invasion of the Body Snatchers, I didn't feel that. I felt that it was actually like good. It was helping me like follow the movie,
I don't know. I didn't felt really moved. Like I liked it in the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but I didn't really felt like it moved me. And I like the way it was part of the story in I mean, probably it had to support the acting of Roddy Piper, because Roddy Piper is a very bad actor. He's
That's
not
actually
bad at delivering the
no,
lines, but
that's actually a very good point.
so
I gotta say this. There was a lot of the music, the score, that reminded me not of Escape from New York, but Escape from LA, like the second movie with Snake.
yeah,
Like that kind of like Western theme, like that riff. It was the same thing that he did in They Live. And the thing is that it was way better done in Escape from LA because Kurt Russell is 1,000,000 times better, a
Than
better
Roddy Piper,
actor
yeah.
than Roddy Piper. So I don't know. It felt like a bit compensating for the acting. I agree with you. That's why I don't know. I don't feel that it's like in a standout point where They Live.
Okay, that's fine. Let's give it to Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I mean, I like it better. I will listen to that one better than the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but yeah, it's fine. We can give it to Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It's also a good one. I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, I'm not going to deny it. I think it's for 1978 is way ahead of its time. I'm not going to deny it.
I mean, and just to recap and re-emphasize, it's not about like what music what you listen to afterwards. Is what music served the movie better.
Sometimes we have asked that one, so that's why I was thinking about that. But and I really liked how the blue. I mean, you say it perfectly. This is a western, so They Live is a western. Is the guy coming in from out of town to fix the city and fight the corrupt sheriffs or the police, right? It's a western.
Let's split this one.
It's a spirit, yeah.
Yeah,
I like to split, yeah.
We have two very distinct different positions, and I know what you're saying, but I don't agree. So let's split it.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Let's move on to the next round.
Round 5.
Round 5. This is a good one. All the memorable moments. So there's a couple of things in the movies, in the two movies that are like standout moments. One is, I think, the longest alleyway fight in history.
6 minutes, more than 6 minutes.
So like a fist fight between the characters of Roddy Piper, and he was fighting Keith David's Frank character. And it goes like Sebas just said, like 6-7 minutes, whatever. At some point I thought, like, what is going on?
And he's famous for that, he's famous because, no one of them basically has the edge over the other, right? He drops him one time and then the other one drops him the other time. So it's a pretty realistic fight. And it's very classic. But I have to say it. The dog and the garden scene in Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I mean, I love the brawl scene. I saw it 2 times yesterday because I was surprised how deep it goes. Nobody, I mean, yeah, actually they have tried to redo it again several times. If it was like a single shot, I will probably give it to that one. But this is, cut and paste. So it's very heavily edited. So that doesn't make it as interesting as the newer fighter scene, like Old Boy or John Wick, or these long shot fight scenes. But the garden and the dog are just freaking incredible, man. I was surprised how good those scenes. I haven't watched this movie probably in 30 years. I probably watched it in the 80s, this Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I don't even remember, probably HBO or something like that. But I was surprised so many times for some of the scenes.
So we're giving the point to...
Yeah, definitely Invasion, yeah.
Okay, that was a quick one. So let's move on to our last round.
So,
round 6. Okay, so the last round of this CinemaJam podcast versus is, what movie, Sebas, if you had a couple of hours to spare, would you watch?
I will watch They Live. It's just more fun. I mean, Invasion of the Body Snatchers is the movie I would recommend to anyone. I mean, it's a must watch, but if I'm by myself, I just want to watch something funny, something ridiculous sometimes with the craziest, most memorable lines, like the one you mentioned about, I'm here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. I'm out of bubble gum. It's the dumbest, weirdest line ever, and with the delivery was weird as hell as well. But it's so funny to see that line. Yeah. What about you? Which one you will go?
If I have to be honest, Sebas, I wouldn't watch any of these movies. Like, I feel the Invasion of the Body Snatchers is a way better movie than They Live by all means. So, but it's also
if
it's a heavy movie.
I will go with Invasion as well. But if I just want to have fun, relax.
it depends on what you're trying to do. So, I mean, if I had two
On the
hours to
mood.
spare,
Yeah.
I would, yeah, I would like to discover a new movie, and I wouldn't want to spend it on. I mean, I found They Live, cool, like interesting, but not enjoyable. Like I wouldn't see it again. I don't think it's like John Carpenter's like better movie. I wouldn't even classify it as a masterpiece from a masterpiece from.
No, definitely not. No, I mean,
And I do
maybe
think
if
Invasion of
it
the Body
was
Snatchers.
Kurt Russell, we talk about that.
Yeah.
It feels like it was made for Kurt Russell. I don't know why it ended with
No,
Roddy
no,
Piper.
I don't know. Maybe it's because he felt that he was getting,
Too much work,
yeah,
too dependent of Kurt Russell. Yeah.
exactly. Maybe like creating like that kind of like Tim Burton dependency on Johnny Depp or something like that. But I mean, I would also wouldn't like watch again Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Like I saw it like yesterday and like 2 days ago, and that was enough. Maybe I'll see it again in a couple of years,
You
but I
have to
wouldn't
pick
see it.
one. So which one would you pick? If you're
I
forced, these are the only two available
I'm gonna
ones.
give this round to you, Sebas. You call it. You have my
They
vote.
live. I will give it to They Live.
That's it. So we give the
I'm not
point.
saying it's a better movie. It's just that if I wanna relax and watch something that is kind of ridiculous, I will give it to They Live.
So Sebas, we have a winner, and the winner is
And the winner is.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but just 1 point. So this is one of the closest CinemaJam podcast versus that we have done so far. Only 1 point between the two movies.
Yeah, and I mean they. I mean they were good. I mean they were good movies. I'm not going to deny it. Yeah, the paranoia theme, the Reagan economics are more relevant than you could even believe it. I mean, I'm not going to deny. That's the reason I watched it a few months ago. That I read it was very relevant, and they were releasing a new version, like a 4K version. So I wanted to try it, but I was surprised. I enjoy it. It's definitely not John Carpenter's best movie. The Thing and Big Trouble in Little China are classics, and
I
the one we
personally,
watched,
I
Serpent and the
personally think
Rainbow.
Big Trouble in Little China is his best movie, and this is me making a statement, for everyone listening to the podcast. But that's me.
We have to do like
A John
well
Carpenter
we have to
appreciation.
discuss like a John Carpenter series or something. Yeah, watch his best and his worst maybe one day. And okay, everyone, thank you again for your time, for joining us. We went a little bit long in today's episode. We're sorry about that. We tried to keep this one short, but the movies had a lot of things to discuss. Please review, leave us your comments in the podcast. We're very interested to hear about what you're thinking about. We don't have the next week's episode yet, but we will announce it in our social media channels in Instagram and YouTube and Facebook. So please follow us there. Until next time, keep jamming about movies.
Next time. Thanks, everyone.